look, I'm not just going to regurgitate everything stylistically, creatively, and intellectually significant to my filmmaking hero John Carpenter because I've covered him so much at this point that people are now just poking me with their sharp, pointy comment sticks to finally cover what many consider one of his most underrated cult favourites. Even though that's extremely debatable when the same sentiment could be shared for almost any Carpenter film. But I think many fans hold this film in especially high regards because it is technically one of his most diverse films, which says a lot for a filmography as diverse as his anyway. In The Mouth of Madness just has this reputation for being aggressively alluring from start to finish. It's filled with bizarre psychological twists and turns that it becomes this tantalizing meta experience underpinned by Carpenter's trademark grungy punk rocker music video aesthetic. For a filmmaker famous for his love of simplicity and ambiguity, In the Mouth of Madness not only indulges on more complex ideas while celebrating such prominent features to horror cinema, but manages to have a hell of a lot of fun with it to the point that it left me with a genuine smile on my face, mixed with a sense of existential bewilderment because, honestly, I wasn't entirely sure what the hell was going on half the time. So let's talk about it. With a title as kick-ass as In the Mouth of Madness, it kinda speaks for itself. It's a hypnotic blend between cool, sophisticated, and deeply disturbing, as it spirals us into madness as it explores our obsessive relationship with pop culture, to the point that we sometimes value an artist's fictional vision of reality as more meaningful than our own actual mundane reality. The story follows an insurance investigator called John Trent, who is tasked by a publishing agency to investigate the disappearance of a profoundly prolific author called Sutter Kane, and uncover his final manuscript for publication that apparently made his agent lose his bananas. From there, Trent goes to a weird rural town and gradually discovers that Sutter Kane's work is seeping into reality, so much so that Trent and his associate, Kane's editor, Linda Stiles, begin to realize that they themselves may have become characters within Kane's mysterious works. Now, the big seller to the film for many is that it's very loosely based on H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, about a geologist who returns from the Antarctic and aims to discourage people from venturing there because, as you might expect from a Lovecraft novel, there are some unexplainable cosmic horror shenanigans going on. And yeah, sure, while the title and basic plot structure share similarities, as weird as it sounds for a film as weird as this one, In the Mouth of Madness is more like Charlie Kaufman's adaptation of The Orchid Thief called Adaptation, in that the film feels like it's trying to adapt someone else's work, but in the process becomes more consumed by said writing process that it feels like some personal metafilm about the challenges of channeling and reinterpreting someone else's work, that is, their unique individual expression of ideas and, more importantly, how they perceive the world around them. Yeah, when you throw a term like meta around, things are naturally going to get a bit funky, so stick with me here. I seriously can't believe I'm using this as a comparison, but in Kaufman's film, he was asked to adapt The Orchid Thief into a conventional Hollywood thriller, a book that's actually a non-fictional account of the arrest of a bunch of orchid poachers and not much else, leaving Kaufman in a state of writer's block, unable to appropriately adapt the story into such a genre, leading to the inevitable outcome of a film in which Kaufman just adapted his own problematic experience of writing the film into said film instead. You could say Adaptation was a satire on the adapting process, and the fears of artistic integrity clashing with that of the insincerity of the entertainment business, two evils at constant conflict with each other that hopefully lead to a compromise where both parties are happy with the final result. When you take this and compare it to In the Mouth of Madness, I then like to personally think that it's a bit of a meta fanfic or love letter to Lovecraft that basically plays on the obsession fans have with his work, and indeed you could interpret Sutter Kane as a template for any feverishly beloved artist, especially those that inspire wild fan theories and lore-driven phenomenon. While the general conflict of the film is really about Kane predicting the impending monstrous apocalypse and wanting Trent to share his work with the world as a warning, I think a lot of people overlook the fact that the film deals more with a prevalent issue in pop culture that's even more apparent and relevant today than it was at the time of its release. In comparison to other cult-style narratives, while In the Mouth of Madness never traditionally establishes a cult or follows the conventional structure of a cult-style narrative, it very much internalizes it in Cian's mainstream success. His fans act more like his followers who have been indoctrinated by his scriptures, that is, his novels, and now gatekeep his work as some divine exclusive truth worthy only to those who get it, leading to hostility to outsiders. Obviously, this mentality doesn't speak for every fandom. There are many inviting and, let's just say, non-sectarian fandoms out there, and it's got nothing to do with negativity either, but more so it's about the power and influence a work of fiction can have to so many, to the point that it's potentially life-changing, or, in the case of the story, life-affirming. It's simply established that Cian's work has an effect on people that makes them violent and pathologically unstable, or as his publishers put it, to maintain a good reputation with the public, it's really just his less stable readers as a means to reduce the toxicity his work has perceptively cultivated. Naturally then, as an outsider, Trent dismisses it as essentially just a bunch of nerds with overactive imaginations trying to make the normal, boring world seem more extraordinary, conspiratorial, and even ethereal. It's like they desire greater purpose beyond this rudimentary life. And really, the conflict is less with Cian and more with Trent, trying to respect some grander way of looking at life, or at least a way in which it'll make life seem more fulfilling and exciting. It's not directly looking to criticize fandom or pop culture obsession. Hell, if anything, it's a total celebration of it in how Trent comes to seemingly understand the appeal of fiction, but ultimately falls victim to the most extreme angle of it totally consuming his life. As much as he tries to reject it as some wacko fantasy, he perpetuates the social stigma around those who seem to disapprove or scorn art and entertainment as purely wasteful and pointless, when, ironically, it can exist to give point to so many. I think about it in the context of my own work. I make these videos as a way to show the value behind what is conventionally assumed to be just movies about violence, death, and scares, when really it's the profoundness and poignancy to them that allow us to understand the world, or at the very most feel somewhat more comfortable within it. What is significant is the symbiotic relationship between the follower and the outsider to the artist. To many, they agree and empathise with Cian's tragic personal view of the world so they don't feel alone, and to the outsider and the impending horror, it alienates others who think it's basically some sort of black magic to create a powerful emotional connection out of nothing that they themselves don't feel and thus don't understand, more drastically showcased when people blame art as the sole reason for real-world crime and violence. And as one character asks, what about those who don't read the book?
There's a movie.
Speaking on Trance Addiction, Cian's work is effectively a gateway drug he doesn't realise is addicting him. Trent's greatest strength is his intelligence to see past fabrication and phoniness, but it's also his greatest weakness. By constantly rejecting his obsession, it leeches further onto him, and in the most abstract possibility, you could see it as an allegory for any type of addiction. After all, this clean-cut, well-groomed, charming man isn't the same person we see in the mental hospital, completely irrational to the people who look down on him, like when he once looked down on others. It comes back to that liberation through fiction, that is, being completely open to the possibility of something otherworldly existing. It's the core philosophy of fiction, selling the belief that these are real experiences, and especially in the realm of horror, can convincingly be true. As Trent's bizarre experience in the town increases, it pits him against his own logic, making him question what exactly reality is. It's a concept we created ourselves and rationalized over time to a doctrine of conformative assumptions about what is real. We see believers in the unknown outcast for their harmless curiosity, if indeed we lump them in with those who are just, well, genuinely fucking crazy. As it drifts towards the conclusion, it does start to allude to questions about our existence. Are we really in control of our lives and destiny, or is there someone or something behind the scenes that writes our path for us? In the case of Trent, he literally tears apart reality to find that his path is predetermined. He can't escape the important role that Cian has crafted for him. I mean, in meta terms, the filmmakers could have easily wrote him a happy ending or helped him understand those strange abstract monsters we keep getting brief glimpses of, but then that would defeat the point in the conclusion that matches the tone of the story. Because the screenwriter and director might be in control of what happens, but it has to be determined based on how it will impact the audience, who aren't so much relating to the creators, but the characters they create. It purely comes back to that symbiotic relationship between the audience and artist that I mentioned earlier. It's a paradox within itself. Is it the artists themselves who we obsess over, or is it their mind, the very thing that determines our perception? In a way, it's not the artist that truly matters. Like with Cian passing on his manuscript to Trent, it's their characters, their creations, the personification of their voice, beliefs, and emotions that carry their legacy. It's a film that speaks for itself, like I mentioned in the beginning, a representation of the artist, and them battling with their own demons to create a masterpiece for us to experience, enjoy, and love. They give a piece of their own sanity to create things that inspire us and help us escape the monotony of the everyday world, even if that escapism is rooted in the fear of the big bad unknown that may or may not exist. Because what is rational reality when so much of it remains unexplored and unexplained?
I can't believe it, I must have slept through the whole night.
Hey folks, thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to those who come to the end of the video just to see my unceremonious face. There is a crow outside that won't shut up, so just ignore it, because I gotta get this video done in one take, because I gotta go catch a flight to Edinburgh. I only saw In the Mouth of Madness quite recently, that's why it took me forever to do a video on it, so let me know your thoughts on the film in the comments below, and also let me know your favourite Lovecraftian-inspired film, book, video game, whatever it may be, as well in the comments below. And if you want to see your name in the end credits, you want to get early access, or you want to vote in future videos, consider heading over to Patreon, where for just a few dollars a month you can get access to all those things, and even our exclusive Discord chat, where you can talk about anything you want, and share what you've been working on, share your thoughts on different films, media, etc. Even share your tattoos, that's been a thing we've been doing recently, and now there's a massive fly on its way over here. And yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, stay safe, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye. Stay safe. That's a big fly.